As vast a game as Hytale appears to be, it remains to be seen what role we, the players, take up when spawning into the world. Are we the defenders of Orbis, or merely some humble peasants working our way up to the top? Do Orbis Officers protect the peace, or will we be able to take a more nefarious path? I want to speculate a little bit on the state of the world at large, and figure out just where we fit in the overarching story of the game. This is Hytale Theory Talk. Welcome back to Kweebec Corner. My name's Connor, and today we ask the question, are you an Orbis Officer? We're going to be diving a little bit more into Gaia's connection with humans and what that wacky temple is really all about, why you may just be the last hope for the planet, and why you also might not be. This video is sponsored by ServerPro. ServerPro has everything you need to host the next big Hytale server. With support for modding and scripting, why not start your adventure today and grab a free Minecraft server which you can swap over once Hytale is launched. So let's start with what we do know. From concept art revealed quite a while back, we see that Tessa and Kyros are both Orbis Officers. Due to their distinct shields, swords, and armor that all appear to share the same Gaian symbol, we can assume that this is some sort of protective order, service, or agency that existed at some point in the history of Orbis. Kinda like the Knights of the Round Table, they're an elite group of warriors aiming to keep the peace. In fact, we can see their decorative, iconic banners strung up in quite a few places around Orbis, so their influence had to be fairly far spread in older human culture. There's plenty of evidence to suggest that people fought for a joint cause at some point. Be it as Orbis Officers or as lesser knights serving under Gaia, we see her insignia on skeletal warriors and even castles now overthrown by Varian's spawn. From previous theories, we know all too well that Gaia, as well as the support for her cause, is now shriveling away. Bar the Varians and the Kweebecs, we don't really know of many of the surviving races that support her. In fact, others theorize that we may even be some of the very last humans remaining, with all but ruins on display throughout the zones. Going back to our two officers here, Tessa is clearly embodying a lighter persona than Kyros, who seems all dark and mysterious and manipulated by void voodoo magic and such. Even his Gaian crest is now cold and frosted. This post has kept coming back to mind far too often over the last year. Why would they introduce these two pivotal characters so early? What role do they play in the overall story? While I'm sure both have a rich history behind them that we'll get to explore, I'm assuming that among other things, they represent the choice a player has to face in-game, a moral choice. It is clear by Kyros that not all Orbis Officers agree with the status quo anymore. In fact, some people think that Kyros may even be an evil version of Tessa, having undergone some corrupt transformation. Either way, this shows that Orbis Officers can turn evil. It's an ethical choice. And with the Edge article recently mentioning reputation and standing between races, we can only assume that this choice is going to be presented to us in some form or another throughout the game, be it through exposure to the void element itself or being able to physically make those choices, by for example offering to help Outlanders perform their rituals or capturing Kweebecs instead of fighting Trolls. We may even just get a flat out choice, a question posed to us during a story prefab, but I don't think it'll all be as clear cut as that. Hytale seeks to be a dynamic experience, and I don't think they're going to funnel your journey or branch you off from half of the content by making you choose specifically good or bad. If anything, your moral standing will be reflected in the way you treat conflict and creatures in the world. I think Tessa and Kyros will serve more as two extremes, advertising the best parts of both sides, essentially the angel and the devil on your shoulder, each representing the higher gods of Gaia and Varian. You know when you see that one comment that's like, first, oh my god! Well, that's Gaia. No, in fact, Gaia was the one who made the video. The video being Orbis in this metaphor, of course. We know that she technically came first, is what I'm saying. Varian is more of an invading force that was originally suppressed or even non-existent at first. Assuming this, Kyros may have actually been a pretty chill dude at some point. I've speculated at times that he and Tessa may even have been siblings, but that could make things a little bit too cheesy. Kyros may have been swayed against the Order, becoming a more shadowy figure, possessed by void magic, or even enthralled by Varian's commands. Perhaps all of this will be explored in mini snippets or even cutscenes concealed within these memory mirrors we see here. Yeah, memory mirrors, you heard me right. Tell me something this game doesn't have. And these memory mirrors seem to appear in the exact same place I wanted to discuss next, the Temple of Gaia. Now, between a year's worth of development since concept art was released and the copious amount of images we actually have of the place, forgive me if I cross my wires a bit here. It seems like this temple is going to be central to the story, or at least reappear more than once. Let's start by listing out every time we've seen something relating to the temple show up. We have a Gaian portal concept showing a person entering a white structure with Gaian symbols leading down to a blue shining portal that appears to have emblems of all the elements. We see what one of those blue portals may look like, although without the elemental stuff all around. There's a statue either side of the blue portal, one seemingly a statue of Gaia with the head knocked off. While I did originally misconstrue this as some sort of bull, I can see how both statues kind of resemble one another. The pattern on this block in particular shares a resemblance to the Orbis Officer armor worn by Tessa and Kyros. When we first saw the corrupted golem in this image, we noted that a particular sword was stuck in his shoulder, that more than likely being the thing that's making him corrupted. Could be Kyros' sword? Who knows? The shape is different, so it could be anyone's. What's important to note is in this image is the purple glowing statue of Gaia in the background, as well as the green murky light that seems to be emanating. In this concept art, we seem to see the exact same thing, a strange green ooze coming from down by the back, while everything else is turning to a voidish purple. It's clear that from our first arrival, the temple is going to be corrupted. The Temple of Gaia, for all intents and purposes, appears to be a portal dungeon. We've spoken a few times about how the temple itself may be suspended in space or the void, but knowing we have to reach it via portal definitely means it isn't on Orbis. We also know that Gaia herself is asleep within the temple, with a big light shining down on her from some sort of crystal. The room itself is overgrown with strange purpley red-brown roots, and we see the same thing here on this image with a creepy brown creature. This is simply labelled a temple. Perhaps this one is a less significant temple than that of Gaia's, but one that is still built using the same blocks. It may even hold one or two secrets for the story. The memory windows actually appear on this image, which is what makes me assume you'll find them individually throughout the world. These windows can come in different zone types as well, further backing this up. Neat little thing, you can also zoom in here to see a ring of the elements within each of the different windows. Moving on, remember that glowing green ooze we discussed? Well, we got a glimpse of it here. Almost like a lava substance, it seems to come hand in hand with that purple void stuff we've been seeing. In fact, Varian's greenness and the void's purpliness has had a lot of people confused, but perhaps both colours symbolise the same evil. The Gaian statues also seem to be emanating a purple glow as if corrupted. There's multiple pairs of each of these statues, which I can only imagine means there's an entrance to each tower of course representing an element and having some sort of story or goal that's needed to be completed by the player. Rewinding way back to the overview of the map, it's pretty clear that we'll be dealing with this corrupt temple quite early on in our progression, perhaps even at the end of Zone 1. The Kweebecs may lead us through the portal themselves in fact. Kicking this golem out and saving the day, even just partially, may be our first introduction into the wider world, and present us with the choice of becoming an honorary Orbis officer and carrying out the duties set out by those who once fought for Gaia. Tessa may even show up to give you a cool piece of her armor and, like, knight you or something. And again, maybe you can just let the golem chill and do absolutely nothing, prompting Kyros to come forward instead and be like, ah, heck yeah, dude, you can be a Sith Lord, I mean, the Dark Void officer with us or something. So, let's recap. I know I can ramble on a little bit in these videos. We have Kyros and Tessa, dark and light, symbols of evil and justice. You're a lowly human or other that has spawned in Zone 1, 2, or 3. You slowly make your way to the end of the zone, either by helping one race or another, resolving conflict, causing it, or maybe just not getting involved at all. Once there, you enter the Temple of Gaia through a dungeon portal, where of course you find it is under attack, and all these elements corrupted. This leaves the current race you're fighting with to be like, oof or yay, depending on if they're fans of the Dark Lord and whatnot, and setting your goal to either end the chaos or continue the madness. This being your first and perhaps even defining choice as a new Orbis officer of the world. If you fend off the golem, you're given your title and sent off across the land to redeem it and eventually save Gaia. As an Orbis officer, perhaps you'll be renowned and respected in the world. When wearing that armor, certain races may flee or void creatures may be prompted to attack you more. Right now, it's all conjecture and ideas, of course. We really need some solid evidence to finally tie all of this together. And that's what we'll wait for here on Hytale Theory Talk. Make sure you let me know exactly what you thought about this theory. What have I got right? What have I got wrong? What do you think the real story is? And what other theories would you like to see explored? If you're avidly awaiting the game, then remember that the conversation doesn't end here. Join us on the Kweebec Corner Discord server that just launched, where we've been discussing some of the latest news, hottest theories, and development ideas. The community is growing fast, with a whopping 300 members already. There's memes and music and tech chat, all that good stuff. So click that link in the description, and thanks as always for watching Kweebec Corner. Stay safe and keep free.